If you think India-Pakistan is a big rivalry, wait for this one to kick off. Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka is another fascinating rivalry in this year's Asia Cup, and it's going to be coming live to you soon, very shortly. Here we are previewing the game on cricket.com. My name's Avnish Hegde from the comfort of my house. There's Somesh Agarwal dressed in white, looking pretty good, man. You come from a reception or something, Som?
You speak as if you've seen me for the first time. I mean, this is what I usually wear. All I
Just
have with me is white and black, or maybe some blues.
Maybe some blues as well. Maybe he'll bring that blue out when India play, but just a gentle looser to get things kicked off here. Nikhil, good to see you as well. In fact, I was going to ask the boys to show them and show the viewers, I should say, the best impression of your Nagin dance, guys. So let's have it. Honestly, are we going for sideward movement?
This is out
Two
of sync.
people of the wrong side of 30s that you're asking for a Nagin dance move.
That's why I think I should come down. I should just kind of come down here. But look, Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka. I was reading Anirudh Suresh's pre-match analysis on cricket.com. It's available on the website and tells you quite a few number of things. But where do we start with the rivalry first? We'll start with Som. I mean, how do you kind of see this game going? But more importantly, how do you see this rivalry brewing so far for the last 4 or 5 years or whatever it's been?
Yeah, I think 5 years to be exact. It all started with the Nidas Trophy, and I think now everyone who would be watching this game would know about it because it's out there. It's a good thing. Not just Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. If I may add, even Pakistan, Afghanistan is brewing up to be a very good rivalry. So it's a good thing to have. All of us were tired of just the Ashes and India, Pakistan because all other rivalries have more or less fizzled away. So it's good to have this, good to have these rivalries, at least in the Asian cricket scheme of things. So I'm pretty excited about it. And thanks to Chamika Karunaratne, who doesn't really do much on the field, but at least by reviving that Nagin thing in the Asia Cup last year, he has ensured that there is still some spice remaining in this rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw those pictures of Khalid Mahmood, good old Khalid Mahmood doing it, then you thought that, look, something's really up between these two sides. And the poke that Shanaka had in that press conference saying that they don't have any world-class bowlers as well. Nix, I want to ask you, this rivalry will definitely be on for the next couple of years, surely, because they met each other in larger competitions apart from bilaterals. But this time around, it's sad because it's going to be plagued by injuries, right? Talk to me about who's missing whom in this today's encounter.
Yeah, I think just on the bit of rivalry, even the press conference yesterday, Shanaka kind of slipped up by saying that sometimes Bangladesh take their decisions too quickly. So, but again, you have to make of it what you want to. May not have meant it, may have meant it. Who knows? But the thing is,
He
these guys have
definitely
played.
meant it. He definitely meant it.
Pretty sure, yeah.
They played together. Shanaka and Shakib. They were teammates in the LPL. So definitely something would have been talked about. It may not have been in detail, but in terms of rivalry, that's what happens when somebody's giving you something from time to time. That's where the rivalry keeps brewing. If like it is with India Pakistan, now you don't see anybody out speaking anyone, and which is why the rivalry and the fuses died down. That okay, we are good pals and let's get on with it. But with these sides, with Gulbadin Naib saying that hum to dubenge sanam tumko bhi le dubenge, something like that, those kind of things they just kick the rivalry up. So I think the emotions will be there, but even those players are missing. They are probably the first choice attack of Sri Lanka with Kumara, Chamira, Hasaranga. Those are massive boots to fill. So I think that bowling challenge will remain, and lots of pressure I feel on Thikshana and Pathirana, who's very young in this international career, to be able to lead. Rajita is there. It's a very poor pun that I keep making, that Kasun Rajitha. So yes, Rajitha to lead the attack. That's what we'll have to see today.
Yeah, Rajitha. I mean, look at the name, Som. I mean, Sri Lanka, I think, what did you go for on the group stage predictions? Let's pop that on as well, because you've gone for Sri Lanka to win. So talk to me why you've gone for Sri Lanka to win. I'll tell you why Sri Lanka will win as well.
I mean, I think we did discuss this in the preview. I basically went with the sides that I want to see win. On paper, Bangladesh were more grounded, and Shobha's done an excellent preview on our website and app, where he's broken every team down on various facets of the combination. And Bangladesh are better off, at least in comparison to Sri Lanka and Afghanistan. But yeah, I mean, I'm sort of rooting for Sri Lanka. I mean, no real reason. But I think post our discussion, Bangladesh have been dealt a very big blow in Liton Das.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of evens out things a bit, not a lot, because I think Bangladesh still have a very, I mean, better bowling attack and a lot more, senior players in the middle order. So this is where, at least on paper, I feel Bangladesh are the stronger unit. But then, like I said, I'll be rooting for Sri Lanka in this game.
Okay, let's just give you and, of course, the viewers as well as Nikhil some breaking news, because as you can see there, Bangladesh winning the toss and electing to bat first. Shakib not hesitating at all. And it looks like a kind of a damp but humid affair in Palikele. Hope the rain stays away. Now, I was alluding to that Anirudh Suresh analysis piece prior to the game. And if you take a look at that, essentially, it also shows you about Palikele and the ground over there. Nix, I mean, what do you have to make about the conditions and offer? Because that is going to be the same venue that India and Pakistan take on each other. So can it give us a little bit of a taste of what's going to come in this year's Asia Cup?
Yeah, possibly. A few contrasting things also to hear. Shakib says looks like a dry wicket, but Matthew Eden and Mavan Attappadu in the pitch report said looks good, should spin, but then batting should get easier. If it's a dry wicket, batting should not get easier. So I think they should just stop asking people things about pitch and conditions, because I don't think anybody gets it right any which ways. But generally, though, the term has been that underlights, like we saw yesterday in the game versus Nepal, that Pakistan seamers got good amount of movement and then in the twilight period. So that is something that I'll expect to happen in most of the games. It happens in most subcontinental conditions under lights. So expecting batting to be difficult in both those first power play kind of situations. Spin will stay in the game. So hopefully no dew. Then that should even out conditions in terms of winning or losing the toss.
Yeah, in fact, I'll just put it out in the ticker as well for the benefit of you guys in terms of all the particular venue details that you need to know, because cricket.com is a fantastic place in terms of building your fantasy teams as well, but also assessing the conditions prior to hand. So what do you make of that? They've decided to bat first, Bangladesh. You mentioned there's no Litan Das, there's no Tamim Iqbal. They'll have to rely on, of course, Shakib again, but there's one boy who Nick's picked out in the preview, Ridoy. He's a breath of fresh air, 9 ODIs, averaging 48. So there's lots expected of this boy.
Yeah, absolutely. See, the one thing that we've always associated with Bangladesh cricket is a lack of hitters, so to speak. And Hridoy has been like a breath of fresh air on that regard. I mean, not just his ODI numbers. He did well recently in the Lanka Premier League as well. So he has sort of hang of those conditions as well. So that is one player that I'm looking forward to. Maybe it will change my mindset about Bangladesh cricket in general. But yeah, I mean, regarding the toss, now, I mean, this is a tricky bit. And first and foremost, I mean, these days, I mean, pitch report is just for optics, right? I mean, they get it right as many times as they get it wrong. So it's just like a coin toss. But having said that, given that there are chances of Shakib has done something which is outside the norm. Because whenever typically when we know that there are chances of rain, we've seen captains opting to bowl first because of the DLS and everything makes batting a lot more plannable when you're chasing. So he's gone against the norm, but then probably he well and truly believes that this wicket is pretty dry and is going to slow as the day progresses.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because look, even the stats tell us below that people chasing 300 have actually found it quite easy. In fact, Sri Lanka played Afghanistan here and they chased down 314 in that particular one. Now, I just want to give you guys the team news because it's out there on the cricket.com website. You guys can go check it out. But we'll, of course, confirm it for you all in just a bit because the broadcasters themselves are struggling with that. What are the key battles to look forward to in terms of Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, guys? Because essentially, when we take a look at India, Pakistan, Som said it, it's Pakistan bowlers, India batsmen. Is it as straight as I'd like to put it, Nix? Do you see some particular chinks in either side?
Yeah, I think one of the key ones will be Shakib versus Sri Lanka's batting. And he hasn't always had great time. And you can check it on cricket.com's fantasy stats page as well, where you'll see he has 18 wickets in 24 games. That isn't the number that you associate with Shakib. You expect at least one per game in that regards versus this side. But he's had some trouble. So there is their matchup where you have a lot of left-handers usually. So in Sri Lanka, so maybe they are able to negate him, but then they'll have Mehdi Hassan to take care of it. So that is a battle that I'm very keen to look at. And the other is the batting side where I feel Mushfiqur Rahim. We talked about him in the preview as well. He's been their linchpin, over 1,000 runs in 34 matches. Excellent record with key players missing in Tamim and Das. A lot will rely on Rahim to partner Shakib Hridoy so that, and there is no Mahmudullah who usually you find in a crisis that okay he's there to save you on the some or the other day. But Rahim's form will be very very crucial.
Let's just take a look at that Bangladesh squad. We showed you the Sri Lanka squad. We'll take a look at the Bangladesh squad right now. And no prizes for guessing who's leading that side because Shakib Al Hasan will definitely take reins, not just for this Asia Cup, but for the ODI World Cup as well. Also, just a quick shout out to all the 61 beautiful people watching in the afternoon of this Asia Cup preview on cricket.com. Please like this video and, of course, subscribe if you guys are new. We're definitely taking your comments right after certain things we'd like to talk about.
Yeah.
Here's the Bangladesh squad. Go on, so talk to me.
This graphic was made before Litton Doss was ruled out.
Exactly. I was just coming to that. That because Ibadat also is not there. But I want to ask you guys one question, right? Essentially, which has just been bugging me. How much of travel will affect these two teams? Because if you look at the venue as well, Bangladesh have to travel, and they travel. They play on Sunday to Lahore, and then Sri Lanka also travel to play in Lahore on the 5th of September. So will that be taken into factor? I mean, so they have to get off to a flying start, right? So, or not necessarily?
I mean, see, this is a game that the point is Sri Lanka would fancy winning both the games, and the same applies for Bangladesh. So, ideally, the team that wins this game is more likely going to seal that spot for the, what they're calling it, Super Fours.
Super Fours.
So, this is sort of a virtual, it's not a knockout, but it's sort of a gateway to the Super Four directly, because then you're putting yourself in a very good position by winning this. Regarding traveling, I don't think that's a very big deal. I mean, the modern day cricketers are used to this. It's not like this travel will result in a jet lag of sorts. So, and today's 31st, the next game is on 5th September for Sri Lanka. So, it's a decent gap.
Okay. Now, one of the big news trickling out from the playing 11 boys is that Matish Patirana definitely starts in this one. So does Donit Valelage. What is with Patirana, guys? I'll come to Som, but want to hear from Nick first. How do you rate the boy?
The CSK boy.
The CSK boy. How do you rate him? And do you think 50-over cricket is touch too early for him, dare I say?
But I think it's always better to see him here than just directly take him to the World Cup and see what he can do there. So definitely enough game time required. And whatever he's played so far, he's looked apart. To least he has a thinking head, which we saw even during the IPL. And again, the point here is to not mix formats, but it's about how you are approaching, how you are constructing an over and all of that. So there is scope, obviously, in terms of what all he can offer in terms of a quicker bouncer or a wide yorker, or more. Sometimes he loses control, but all that will happen. He's very young, very raw. So the more he plays, the more situations he gets into, and which is why this is a perfect tournament for him to get into before those pressure games.
I just want to ask you, because you mentioned usage all the time, right, Nix? Where would you use him if you're Dasun Chanaka today? Would you probably use him in the middle overs?
So I think Rajita should definitely, obviously, will start. Patirana, if there is swing, I will not mind using him early, because he did in a couple of games in LPL and did well to take wickets there. He'll definitely probably bowl 5 of his overs in the end, which is again fair. That is one of his skills, but it has to be as per situation. If you see someone who you feel that okay, this is a vital pair, and you think Patirana has the best chance here, go ahead and do it. So I think a lot of times that we've seen in T20s as well, that sometimes captains are thinking so much about the back end that they allow the game to drift. So that is the only thing that I know, and I hope that Shanaka will not do it, because he doesn't have too many options now. So he'll have to eventually turn around very quickly between himself, Velarage, DDS, Arjita, and Tishan and Patirana. So that will always be, because Tikshana also sometimes bowls at the end. So how he uses his resources will be very, very critical.
So I'm looking at that Bangladesh batting order, and it's actually pretty decent. I mean, barring the openers, because fair play to them, they're still like relatively young in their career. But then you look at it from pretty much 3 to 7, right? You have Shanto, who's decent. Ridoy, we spoke about. Shakib, the captain. Mushfiqur, he's just been there for like, I don't know, bloody 25 years or something. Mehdi Hassan, which is a great middle order. So if the openers give them a start, they can actually go pile 300, 320 with ease, or is that wishful thinking?
I mean, that depends on the surface as well, because I mean, it's not. Bangladesh were able to score in the high 200s during the 2019 World Cup because the conditions were such. In a few games, they even went on to beat South Africa by scoring 320 plus.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think the conditions would be pretty similar here. So wait and watch. I mean, I think 3 to 7 is a stretch. I think I would say 4 to 7 they are good. I mean, you've rated Shanto too high in my opinion. So top three, yeah, is a concern in my opinion. The point is, see, if of course if the openers give them a platform, then Shakib and Mushfiqur will always provide stability. But more often than not, I mean, you can't expect just two guys to win you almost all the games, right? I mean, that's not going to work. So ultimately, the top three, at least one of them will have to bat out at least 20-25 overs.
Okay, I mean, that is an ask, but they should be able to do it at this level. Let's see how they really progress going forward. So I'm just coming back to you because we spoke about it in the preview as well when we spoke about Sri Lanka, right? And I'm just reading Darshan Chanaka's quote saying, we would have liked to bat first, but it's a good toss to lose with rain around. But irrespective of that, do you like Sri Lanka's batting lineup and order right now? They've gone for Nisanka Karunatne at the top, expected. Kusal Mendes at 3, expected. Sadira Samara Vikrama at 4. And then Asalanka, DDS, and Chanaka. What do you think? Because we were thinking that they're batting slightly short.
I think so, maybe, yeah, but that was bound to happen once Hasaranga was ruled out, right? I mean, him at number 8 is as big a luxury as any team can have. So, I mean, I would say slightly weaker in terms of batting depth. But the advantage that Sri Lanka has is that their top 3 are solid. I mean, definitely a better top 3 than Bangladesh's top 3. When it comes to the middle order now, I really want to talk about 2 players. One of them is DDS. Now, DDS at this moment in his ODI career, he's averaging 28, which is, I mean, when you see him bat, especially at the test level, I mean, that just doesn't justify the talent. But on the other hand, even his list average is 31. So maybe it's the white ball cricket which he has not sort of nailed. But specifically when you see him bat in tests, I mean, you feel that there is a player in him, and somebody who's done well in tests, you would feel that, I mean, Sri Lanka sort of shoehorn him in the T20 scheme of things like they did in the World Cup. Maybe you can understand him not working out there, but at least ODIs is something that Sri Lanka would have wanted him to nail because he's a top batter, right? I mean, at least there are all the ingredients for him to be, sort of an Angelo Matthews, if I have to take an example.
So shouldn't he be batting at 4?
See, it doesn't matter where he bats. I mean, he needs to score. I mean, 4 or 5 hardly makes a difference. But the point is, he has to live up to it. The average of 28 as of now doesn't justify, and he's played 76 ODIs. It's not like he's not played much. The second player I really want to talk about is Asalanka. Now, if you go back 12 months back, Sri Lanka pretty much won the Asia Cup because of that one man, and you guys would know whom I'm talking about, Bhanuka Rajapaksa. He was in insane form, and I think if Sri Lanka have to sort of repeat, not just repeat, I mean, even to compete in this tournament, I think Asalanka would have to do something similar because he is again someone who has that talent. Unlike the others, he's averaging in the 40s, which is a rarity for Sri Lanka lately. So I'm pretty interested to see how these two sort of pan out in this tournament. Because at the end of the day, you can play as many bilaterals as you want, but it's these multinational tournaments that count, and you sort of have to step up.
Nick, just on Sri Lanka, because he brought up 2 of their players, and you look at this team, which is the first game of the Asia Cup, is it some sort of semblance we're going to get in the ODI World Cup, or do you expect a couple of players to come back? Obviously, the ones who are not fit, Chamira, Hasaranga, so on and so forth. But in terms of their batting six, do you think it'll be the similar order, or do you think Kusal Pereira might come in and they might probably promote DDS to 4, Samara Wickrama to 6? Talk to me about the puzzling.
See, I think the problem with Sri Lanka has been the high variance of the seniors. Kusal Mandi, sometimes he can look $1 million one day and not get going at all the other. And the same thing keeps happening with Rajapaksha, sometimes with even Asalanka. At times you've seen that, okay, he's just not getting runs at the time that you want him to, as in this side. So that is very, very tricky for a side to cover up, because you have Nisanka and Karunaratne, solid guys who can give you decent starts. But then Kusal Mendis, Rajapaksha, whoever is batting then, they are the ones who have to step up and ensure that, okay, the platform is then continued for DDS, Hasaranga and others, Shanaga, to make the most of. So it's the consistency from the middle order and the seniors that I feel they need to crack on come the World Cup.
Let's see how Sri Lanka do, because both of these games, beg your pardon, both of these teams, I should say, will be looking to get one over each other, given the fact that it's such a tournament that you have to go through the Super 4. So every game is a virtual knockout, and there'll be lots of people who have their eyes peeled on this contest. Right, it's time to take some viewers' comments before we wrap up on this preview. Another Tamim opens today for Bangladesh saying sports fan. I don't know who he's referring to. Nikhil's, by the way, just got off. I think he's gone to get his food or something like that. Nikhil Baju, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. He's saying DDS offers a good spin option as well. He's one of the better off spinners through the middle overs in ODIs. Just on that quickly, boys, where do you rate DDS as an off spinner in white ball cricket? Is he in the sort of realms of a Markram, or is he above a Markram? Is he like a Dumini? What is he?
I think difficult to beat them. Probably a more Moeen Ali kind, where you don't take unnecessary risk at times with him. If there are conditions, he's smart enough to know where to bowl. Sometimes does bowl better while trying to contain a batsman. So he may not give you 4 or 5 wickets, but he's somebody who could slip in good overs here and there, and you could use him well with matchups. But not your primary option for sure, but not too bad as well.
So he's opened the bowling for Sri Lanka in tests, right? DDS?
Oh my God, must have been one of those rank turners. I mean, it's not like that. I recall every time he's come out to bowl. इतना बड़ा fan भी नहीं हो यार DDS.
Okay, why don't you take this from Vasant Narayan? Because he says, can Sri Lanka reach a punch above their weight? In the qualifiers, we saw how spinners literally helped them stand in class above Netherlands. Without them, can Sri Lanka bridge the gap?
I mean, this would have been a relevant question even with them. Even if Hasaranga would have been in the 11 or in the squad, this question would still have been valid, because I mean the point is there is a difference when you're playing a qualifier versus when you're playing the Asian teams, the big boys of Asian cricket. Because in qualifiers you're mostly playing non-Asian teams who are not used to play such spin. So we saw in the qualifiers, right? It essentially came down to Thiksana and mainly Hasaranga just skittling out the opposition. It's not going to happen against India or Pakistan. It can happen on a one-off day with any side, but on a larger sample size, it's not going to happen. Even against Bangladesh and Afghanistan, it's not going to be a cakewalk. So they can, and any side can punch above their weight on their day, like they did in the Asia Cup last year. But that was a T20 format, and as we always say, fewer the number of overs, the better chance. It's for everyone. Everyone is in it. It sort of acts as a equalizer. But I mean, longer format, I don't know. It will be tough. It'll be tougher than what it was last year.
I'll tell you what, I'll agree with those thoughts, and I'm pretty sure lots of guys in the comments agree with that as well. Guys, before I let you go and we wrap this preview up, as always on cricket.com, we love our predictions. And I nearly called it right yesterday in the Pakistan-Nepal score. I said 338 for 5 jokingly. It was actually 342 for 6 or whatever Pakistan mustered in the end. Nick, so what are we going in with? Presuming the rain stays away, I think the clouds will probably just threaten, but not really burst out. So is it safe to say 280, 300 from the outset?
Yeah, I think that's the kind of score they'll look at if the weather stays away. I'm expecting new ball movement in both innings. So yeah, should be probably in that range of 275 to 300.
So give us one. Give us one so we can discuss it in the review.
Uh, let's go with 281.
281. And just for confirmation for all the fantasy cricket fans, who are you captaining and vice captaining in this one?
Yeah, difficult to go past Shakib and DDS, but do try Taskin, Mehdi Sab, and Tikshana if you want to.
Okay, I'm going to actually go make my fantasy team. So, what are you predicting? Do you think Bangladesh can do a Nagin dance with their bats?
I don't know. I'm usually randomize these things as you always. I mean, as you've seen, my top scorer is going to be Ishan Kishan. Although Shadab Khan is leading the wicket taker list, so I'm at least winning that battle so far after all but one game. I don't know. The number of 247 is just in my head, so I'm going with 247.
Okay, 247, 281 says Nix, and I'll just be in the middle of y'all as I am in the show right now. So, what does that make it? 259, if that math serves me right, or 263 or something like that.
Yeah.
Around that figure. Look, guys, join us in the review. It'll be the three similar blokes, as you can see here. Gurkirat has his show around 8:30. He's going to be talking about Hardik Pandya and all of that. Meanwhile, if you guys haven't checked out an Asia Cup Classic that we've done, please do. It narrates the whole tale of how this tournament came about, thanks to a sheikh in 1984 in Sharjah. It's a fascinating watch. It's also available in terms of written content on the website. That's all we have. All we'd like to say in this preview is that whichever team wins the first innings, they will be hysterical. We'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Goodbye from us.